Okay, welcome back. So in this lesson, we're going to really get into what it is that makes HTML work. You can get to this lesson, if you remember, by going to the Google site and pull down the menu in the upper right and go to Lesson 2. And there you'll see all the resources for this lesson, including the video, a slide presentation, and the assignment. The slide presentation is what I'll go through with you here. So in this lesson, we're going to learn some important HTML tags. We're going to learn how you can customize tags with attributes, and then we'll learn two of the more important things that you do in HTML, which is insert images and insert hyperlinks. Hyperlinks are really the reason why HTML exists in the first place. It was created as a tool for scientists to share ideas with each other, and scientists often reference each other's work because they try to replicate experiments. They learn from what scientists have done before them. And so they just wanted an easy way that you could click on a link to another scientist's work to dig in deeper and find out more information about it. That's where the hyperlink came about, and of course now we use it so we can just click and see funny cat videos anytime we want to. So let's start by learning some of more important tags in HTML. We're going to start by learning about lists. Lists look really boring when you first learn them, but then when you start getting into CSS and JavaScript, you'll see that lists can be customized to become some really cool features on web pages. There's two types of list tags. There's the unordered list, which is delineated by UL, and then the ordered list, which is delineated by OL. And the only difference between them is that unordered lists are bulleted and ordered lists are numbered. Here's how you use them. So I'm going to open up my Visual Studio project, and then I'm just going to copy and paste some list code from a notepad file into this file here. So let's go to my notepad file, and I'm going to copy the list code and paste it right here. So I've got this list code in between the body tags. Don't forget that there's an open body tag and an end body tag. And then in here I've got the open UL tag and a closed UL tag. So this is the start of the unordered list and the end of the unordered list. Inside that unordered list there are subtags, and each of these is a list item, hence the LI. So my heading for the unordered list is things I like, and then underneath that, one list item is donuts. There's the end of the list item. One list item is french fries, and there's the end of the list item. And one list item is coffee, and there's the end of the list item. If I preview this in Google Chrome, you can see it just comes out as a nice bulleted list. And of course, we'll learn how to customize it later, but it's an important HTML element. And then, of course, you can change this to be the ordered list by just changing the U to an O. And Visual Studio is nice because it changes the end tag for me. So now I've got beginning an ordered list, ending an ordered list, and this will shock you. Now it's numbered instead of bulleted. So unordered list, ordered list. Pretty straightforward. Next tag, let's go back to our presentation here, is the table. So a table is useful if you want to order things in a grid format. And so tables are cool because they have tags and then subtags inside of those. So here's how tables work. I'm going to go to Notepad, and I'm going to copy some table information, and I'm going to paste it in Visual Studio so you can see it there. Okay, so in this table, I've got three subjects. I have math, English, and computer science. And then down here, these are the grades that I have in those subjects. You can see the way the tags are organized as I have an open table tag right here, and then a closed table tag. Inside there, I have the TR tag, which stands for table row, and there's the end of the table row. This is a second table row, and the end of that row. Inside the table rows, I have cells, and cells are kind of a weird tag. It's TD. TD stands for table division, so just remember this is an individual cell in the row. So in this row, I'm going to have my headings, math, there's the end of that cell, English, and computer science. And then in the next row, I have three cells. These are the grades I got in those subjects, 95%, 85%, and 101%. Got extra credit in computer science. If I display this as it is, I'll go ahead and push the play button so you can see how it's formatted. You can see that it is in a grid format, but it's not really sharply delineated. It is aligned so that it's arranged in a table. There's math, there's English, there's computer science. So you can see this row and the next row below it. But I'm going to teach you an attribute to add so you can actually see the grid. So you got a hint of what an attribute was when you first saw this meta tag up here. There's the meta tag, and then there's this little piece that says char set after that. That's an attribute. For an attribute, you put the name of the attribute, an equals sign, and then the value of the attribute in quotes. So for the table tag, we have the table tag, and I'm going to put a space before that end angle bracket, and in this space we'll put a name of an attribute. What's nice about Visual Studio is it lists the attributes here with the IntelliSense. So I'm going to pick border, and I double clicked on it, and it gave me the equal sign and double quotes, and I'm going to put in a value for the border. So I'll choose 1. You can say 1px if you want to specify that it's 1 pixel, but that's optional. If you just put in the number, it knows that you mean pixels. So there's a tag with an attribute. My table is going to have a border that's 1 pixel wide. And now when I preview the table, you can see I still have that arranged in a grid format, but now there's a border around the table of 1 pixel wide. Okay, so attributes make it so that you can customize your HTML, and there's a couple of tags that really need attributes, and those are the image tag and the hyperlink tag. So let's go back to our Google form here. To insert a hyperlink, the tag is not what you'd think, it's the A tag. A stands for anchor, and it's kind of shorthand for hyperlink. But the A tag by itself is not useful. You have to have an attribute that will tell it where to link to. This is how you use the A tag. So let's say in my web page, I want to put a link to a page about donuts, right? So inside the list item, I can embed a tag inside that list that'll tell me more information about donuts. I'm going to go to a web browser and just do a little search for donuts so I can find more information about them. I'm sure there is an informative page about donuts here somewhere. Oh yes, here's Dunkin' Donuts, America's favorite. Let's link there, okay? So I'll highlight this link for Dunkin' Donuts and do Control-C. I'm going to block Dunkin' Donuts from knowing my location. No. And then inside my code, I'm going to add an A tag around the word donuts, so donuts becomes a link. The way I do that is I do an angle bracket and do A, and then after the A, we're going to add an attribute for this hyperlink, and that is where the link points to. So the way you do the attribute is you say href equals, the name of the attribute is href, and then inside the double quotes, I'm going to paste the link to the Dunkin' Donuts website, and then, that's not the right key, and then I'm going to insert the angle bracket for the end of the anchor tag. The word donuts should be in between the begin anchor tag and the end anchor tag. That's not how it was supposed to go. Right there. Okay, so we have the way the whole tag works, angle bracket A, href equals, double quotes, put the web page that you want the link to go to, end the double quotes, end the angle bracket. This is the word that's going to show up as a hyperlink. And then you do the /A, the end A tag, to end the hyperlink. I don't need the word donuts here anymore. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'll just end the list item right there. Okay? So a tag embedded within a tag. Notice you close the tags in the reverse order that you open them. So list item A, end list item. Let's go ahead and preview this one. So then in the preview, now the word donuts isn't just a word, it's a hyperlink. And if I click on it, it takes me to the Dunkin' Donuts webpage. So now you know that is the way that you make your web pages interactive, so they actually lead you to places that you click on. The power of programming. And one more useful tag is the image tag. This one has a few different ways that you can use it, so bear with me here. So the image tag doesn't have an open tag and a closed tag. It just has a single tag, and you do the /angle bracket at the end of it. But the attribute's really important. So let me see if I've got. Okay, so the image tag has an attribute called source. And inside source, you put the name of the file that's your image. Now the name of the file can either be a local file that's in the same folder as your HTML file, or it can be an image file that's somewhere on the internet and you tell it where that is. I'll show you both ways. So if you're going to do this the first way, where you actually store the image file in the same folder as your HTML file, what you'll need to do is get access to an image file. So I have one inside my downloads folder, this little poop emoji, and I'm going to pick it up and put it in the same directory as my HTML file. So I need to browse to that, which for me involves diving into a bunch of folders. I'm really sorry. I've got a very confusing file structure here. Keep going down. Mine is in this VS Solutions, and then there's this coding class 1. Okay, and there's my HTML page. I can see it there. So that's where I want to move the poop emoji to. So I'm going to go back to my downloads folder, copy the poop emoji, go down to the same folder that the HTML file is in, and paste it. So there it is. Poop.png is in the same folder as my HTML file. So then if I go to my Visual Studio, I can insert an image down here using the image tag. I do angle bracket IMG. Let me slide over so you can see it better. There we go. Angle bracket IMG src equals, and then inside the quotes I'm going to write poop.png. And then end the quotes, and we're just going to do a /end angle bracket. So this will insert the image just as it is. If I preview this, now I can see the poop emoji at the end, and it does have to be in the same folder again as the HTML file. So that's one way to do this. Another way is you can get an image, if you know an image's location on the internet, you can insert the hyperlink to that image, and instead of putting in a hyperlink, it actually puts in the image on the internet. So for example, I like coffee. Sorry, I'm opening windows randomly here. I'm going to find, this is a file I got from Wikimedia Commons, and it's a little picture of a coffee in a cup. Now if you're using images that you just find on the internet, make sure you check that you have permission to use it. Wikimedia Commons is a pretty common public domain resource, but scroll down and just check and make sure you have permission to use it. So for this file, only requires attribution if you publish in print or if it is used in a for-profit project. This is not for profit, so I should be good. I'm going to right-click on the image and say copy image address. Okay, then I'll go back to my Visual Studio, and then right here where I've got the word coffee, right after the word coffee, but before the list item ends, I'm going to just insert the picture of the coffee. So angle bracket IMG src equals, I've got the double quotes there, and I'm going to do Control V to paste the link to the image itself. And then I'll do a space and /angle bracket. That's the end of the image tag. So we'll see the word coffee and then the image right after that. I'm going to preview it. And so the file is pretty big, but you can see there's the word coffee, and then there's the picture of the coffee. Now it's huge. So this leads us to wondering, are there other attributes of the image tag that we can use to make it look a little nicer? I'm glad you asked. There are. So the source attribute is just one attribute of the image tag. Another would be like the width. You don't have to set both the width and the height. You can set the width only, and it will auto scale the height. So right before the source attribute, I'm going to include a width equals, and it gives me the double quotes, and let's just make it small, like 250 pixels. This is going to be a small cup of coffee. And then all you have to do is have a space before the next attribute. No other punctuation is needed. So separate your attributes and values with spaces. Okay, and now I see the coffee in a little more manageable size. There are other attributes you can use to like align it and put a border around it and things like that. So I'd encourage you to just kind of play with the attributes. And you can also look up help on HTML attributes using w3schools.com. So I'll show you what that resource is right here. w3schools.com. It's sort of my favorite website for finding help on these. and they have a whole course where you can learn HTML, and they have an HTML reference, which is extremely useful. And in their HTML reference, they have HTML attributes and HTML global attributes. So for any HTML tag, you can learn more about its attributes by clicking on that help. w3schools.com. Okay? One more thing I want to show you with images, and this is a little bit baffling, but you can actually, one way that you can publish images on like a Google site is to have them in a Google Drive and then link to them from there. But the process is not super straightforward, so let me show you how it works. Okay, let's say rather than have the poop image in a folder right next to the HTML file, let's say it's stored in a Google Drive and I want to link to it there. What I'm going to do is click on the image in the Google Drive, and first I need to share it so it's visible by the public. So right click on the image and do share, and just make sure you change the permissions so that I don't want to change it so it's just my organization. We're going to make it anyone with the link can view. Okay, so far so good. Right click it again and you're going to get the shareable link. Okay, and then copy that. Alright, next you go into your HTML file, and where you've got the image source equals, let me slide over so you can see that better, the image source equals, get rid of the file name here, and we're going to paste the link to the image that we just had. But notice this one doesn't have a file extension like .jpeg or .gif. It's just like a link to where it is on the Google Drive. So we have to massage this a little bit. Here's what you do. This little bit down here is the ID of the file. We're going to keep that and change everything else around it. So this little section we keep right after the D and before the view question mark. That's the ID of the image file. In this presentation, it walks you through the process. So, okay, so you get a link like this. Again, this is like the ID of the image, and we change it so it's in this format. So you keep the ID of the image and you replace everything else in it with just this little bit in front of it. So we copy that, drive.google.com/UC question mark, export equals view, blah, blah, blah. That's going to go before the ID of the image and everything else goes away. So go back to Visual Studio. We're going to get rid of this bit after the image ID, and we're going to change everything before the image ID to be that. Okay, and then that should make the poop image show up, but it's showing up linked from your Google Drive. Yeah, and so same poop image, but this time it's on the Google Drive. The reason why this is important is if when you're going to turn in your assignment, you're going to turn it in as a Google site, and you can't upload image files in the same directory as your HTML file on a Google site, so you're going to need to link it from a Google Drive. One more comment before I wrap this up. This way that I linked an image where I just put in the internet address is generally okay as long as you have permission to use it, but you should be extremely careful. This is called hot linking, and when you hot link, the bandwidth from pulling up your web page is directed to the web page where the image is hosted. So it makes the other web page's hit count go up. It directs traffic to it without actually directing it to the web page, just like pulling the images from it. If it's somebody who's paying for bandwidth, you might actually be costing them money. So you should be extremely cautious using hot linking, and always make sure that it's something that you have permission to do. I would not use it on a high traffic website. It's kind of considered bad manners to hot link when you're basically stealing the image hosting from someone else's site. So there you go. Hot linking, avoid it when you can. Make sure you own the images and you're just linking to your own web server. So, oh goodness. That is what I know. And to wrap things up, you have an assignment. In your assignment for today, on your same work in progress web page, we're going to add some additional HTML items. So you are going to add a list or a table. You pick one or the other. It doesn't need to be both. Include at least one image, and you're going to either hot link it to an image on the internet, or better and more recommended, link it to an image that's on a Google Drive using the procedure I just showed you. Include at least one hyperlink. And so in your Google site, you're going to follow the process we followed before. Add and embed HTML, copy and paste all of your HTML code, and then publish the site and send the published site to your teacher. Okay, good luck with this assignment. I hope you learned some useful things about HTML, and we'll see you when you get the assignment done.